Jock, it's a defeat, but I don't think it's total dejection, is it?
Not really. No. I think we're a wee bit down, especially playing against England here and the kind of day it is. Our game needs a wee lift, and a lift today against England would be an ideal.
I think, though, that there are signs that there is something coming together there. You, after all, had a side which had many youngsters in it, really, against an England side packed with vast experience.
Well, that's true. I think that we played against possibly the strongest English side without the two continental players. They paid us that compliment today, that they put out the strongest side. They were determined to win here, and they needed to go off to the continent after Europe rather, after the two disappointing results in the earlier rounds of the British Championships. They played well, they played compact, and they played in the break all the time. I think that playing that way against the Italians were a wee bit different, who are sitting back waiting and them making mistakes. Obviously a crowd like this here and our attitude to the game that we've got to go forward, played into the English hands. We can't afford to sit back and let England dominate the game at the back, and this suited England ideally.
A word about Scotland, Ron. They did have a nice spell after half-time, as you mentioned. I particularly thought Gordon Strachan looked to be a very promising young man.
Yes, he didn't have a very good game in comparison to what he had on Wednesday night against the Welsh. But he did play well. He was a little on his own. What we wanted to do today was to expose their back four and midfield a little inexperienced in as much of playing balls early and playing a third man, having the third man running all the time. And we caught them out. We were always turning them round, and rather than playing the ball up and holding, and they found it very difficult to cope with us in the first half. And I thought we had some wonderful breaks in the first half and we didn't take full advantage of them. But I felt we should have scored more goals in the first half, just as I said earlier about Belgium doing that when they played here against them in the European Cup competition. But this is something we have to learn, and it's something they've got to learn how to counteract it. But I would feel that Jock's on his way. The youngsters did well, and luckily enough they found us today with our tails up.
The lads are very disappointed today, but I think if we had taken our opportunities after England had scored and got back into the game, I think it could have been an entirely different game. There was a few of us had those opportunities, but we didn't really take them. And I think that would have given the lads a lot more confidence. And I think that was the difference. I think England, they got the goal early on, and they looked to me a lot more composed on the ball than we were.
Ray, I think the first thing I'd like to ask is the reaction in that England dressing room after you've come off and you've just beaten Scotland 2-0.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, really, Bob, because we haven't played well in the first two games, and a lot of people were saying we didn't really stand much chance today in front of these 80,000 Scots. But I think we've gone out there today and proved what a good side we are, and we've beaten the Scots, and I think we've beaten them deservedly as well.
Where do you think the game was really won and lost?
Well, I think the first 20 minutes we thought was going to be a very hard period for us, but we knuckled down in the first 20 minutes and played some good stuff, and I think the Scots weren't too happy with the way we were playing, and we got on top of them and scored an early goal. And we settled down quite quickly, I thought. The second half, it was a bit difficult for us. They put us under a lot of pressure, but I think we held out and deserved to beat them.
Are you really satisfied that Scotland are on the right lines and that there is some real hope?
Well, when you've been in the game as long as Jock has, you become a diplomat as well, don't you? But the fact is that I've stood all along this week and said that Jock was different from the other three national managers, that he had to look ahead, and it was a transitional period for Scotland, and he's got to get a team ready for a World Cup. Now, I did say it was 2 years' time, but of course the first game is in September, I believe. So he's got to get the chins lifted a bit before then. But I was concerned today for him that it looked too many youngsters there. I thought England were better than 2-0 actually today. And the blend, you see, was 8 Scottish-based lads and 3 Anglos. And Jock, of course, did point out to me, I said, I think possibly some of those older players would have done you better today and will still be involved for the World Cup. But of course he did point out that he's got lads like Hansen not available through injury. And then there's the Notts Forest lads, isn't there? There's Gray and Robertson.
Yes.
And of course Souness, who was there at the beginning, but he had to go home injured. So I think if he'd had maybe some of them in, and Lou's got his own ideas who he would have put in, it doesn't look as black as really it was today. And the one plus thing for him, I think, is that of all the clubs, all the teams this week rather, he's brought through a laddie who no one had heard of in England last Friday, and Gordon Strachan, and all of a sudden he's accepted as being a good player.
That's a plus for him.
I think so.
Now, Lou, do you think you can put together, from some of the names that Laurie said and some that you've got at the back of your mind, a Scottish team that really could challenge for the World Cup and go some way?
Well, the unfortunate thing, Jim, about a bad result in Scotland is as soon as you get one, the fans want everyone out.
Yeah.
Players, the manager as well. They've got the best manager, that is without question. You know, as soon as the game was finished, people started to doubt him. He is the best manager. As Laurie said, they were unfortunate missing the Notts Forest players.
Yeah.
And John Robertson alone could have caused problems that weren't there today. There is other players, and I'm quite sure Jock will bring them in. Different things robbed them of different players today.
I mean, you're thinking particularly of Martin Bakken, who you feel will be a World Cup player in 2 years' time.
Well, I think so, yeah. He's a fit player and he looks after himself. I don't see why he shouldn't be there in 2 years.
Frank Gray, Robertson, you've talked about, Byrne, Bakken. It makes it look different, doesn't it?
Well, we mentioned everyone.
Yeah, but I think that the significant point was that it's at the back where Jock had this blend of two senior full-backs and two young centre-halves together. And I think generally it was felt that if you compared them with the England back four, there was no comparison on the day. And it really showed up when the pressure was on in the second half. That the England back four showed how they could take pressure, whereas the Scottish back four in the first half had been pulled around a lot.
I'm not being pessimistic, but you know, I feel that there isn't as much talent in Scotland, and Jock has a more difficult job than the fans really realise at the moment. There isn't as much new talent coming through. Do you really say that, or you were saying there is and they can do well?
Well, I think everyone forgets it's only a small nation, and the fans especially, they think you should be going to the World Cup every 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more difficult than that.
Yeah.
Especially for a small country like Scotland.
Well, it'll help if the fans realise that, and I'm sure they will, having listened to you tonight. Well, let's finish the 1980 Home International Championship by congratulating Northern Ireland on their tremendous achievement, particularly in this, their centenary year. They won the title by 2 clear points from England, whose win today took them into second place. Scotland finished bottom, below Wales, on goal difference.